So I've been hiding a secret. It's been going on for months. I can't eat, I can't sleep, and the sleep I do get is full of nightmares. Me and my wife have just decided that it's just way too small. It doesn't give me what I need, and it doesn't give her what she needs. Sure, there's things you can do, but it just doesn't compensate well enough. But I've made a decision today. We have to upgrade our xTool F. If you haven't figured it out yet, we got in the xTool F1 Ultra, and it promises to be a lot better than the F1. I find that hard to believe because the F1's a great machine, but we're going to put it through its paces and see how it works. And as usual, at the end of this, after we put it through its paces, I'm going to give you the pros and cons of the F1 Ultra. So with no further ado, I'm going to take this thing out of the box. Once we get it out, I'll have it set up and we'll start testing it. Nobody packs a laser like xTool. I've never had any issues with any of their lasers out of the box. All right, are you guys ready for this? There it is. Woo! Damn, that thing's big. Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Let's do this so you can see a comparison against the F1 non-ultra. Look at the size difference. Oh my goodness gracious. All right, well, I'm going to sit there and get all the little tapes and tags off of here, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about what this is and what it has and what's available. Now, I'm not going to compare it to the F1 in this video. That'll be in a later video, but let's go ahead and get this one done, and then we'll be back. You could probably tell by my intro that I'm pretty excited about reviewing the F1 Ultra, and that's because it has some features that the F1 doesn't have. First of all, it has a 20-watt diode and IR laser. That means I can cut things that I couldn't cut and emboss things that I couldn't do with the F1 laser. And if you watch my F1 review video, you'll know that I was not happy with the size of the work area. It was about 150 millimeters by 150 millimeters, which is about 4 inches. And no matter what your partner tells you, size does matter. They have increased the work area size to about 220 millimeters to 220 millimeters, which is almost 9 inches. It's about 8.66 inches, which is a great increase and able to do a lot different things. On the F1, you had a little button to push on the side that would make it go. On this one, you have a touchpad. The speed for engraving is significantly increased from 4,000 millimeters a second to 10,000 millimeters a second. That's a pretty big jump in how fast it can engrave. And although I don't have any of them, they still maintained a lot of the same accessories. They have increased the conveyor size and also the air purifier size. All right, with no further ado, let's jump into making some projects. I'm not going to do test grids. I'm going to show you how it actually performs. And mostly I'm going to use the settings that xTool has in the creative space. By the way, that's what I'll be using today. It's a great program, very versatile. And at the end, you'll be able to make a determination if it's something that you like or you don't. I'll give you my 5 cons and I will give you my 5 pros. I believe the first thing I want to do right now is do a embossing. And to do an embossing, you have to have a depth map, and you can get one of those from Depth R is the name of the website, or you can go on to your AI on the creative space and do one there. I'm actually testing out the settings, and this isn't the best settings right here. It comes out really dark. The next one I do, I speed up to about 600 millimeters seconds. It's a little bit better, but I still have a long way to go to learn to do these embossings. It take a while to get done. This took 2 hours and 30 minutes. On this coin, I kind of bumped up the speed, left the power the same, and it came out fairly well. I like the way it looks. So the next thing I want to do is try to do this embossing on a slate coaster. I have a whole bunch of these test slate coasters laying around from other machines, so I thought I'd use them. No use in letting them go to waste.
Got this design off the xTool website. It was free, but I do have a couple of issues with this process, and I'll talk about those in the cons section.
That's that embossing stuff right there. That is pretty cool.
So next, I embossed on some wood doing a test, and it didn't come out great, but I'm going to keep trying, and once I nail that down, I'll be able to emboss in wood. I usually engrave a test grid onto a piece of item to see what it looks like, but instead what I wanted to do is see about the detail. So I took an eagle and set it up with a few different settings, and these are the results that came out on a slate coaster. I did forget to change the number of one of those eagles. The one in the bottom left should be 2,000 instead of 4,000 millimeters a second. I do a lot of engraving of coasters, so I wanted to make sure that this thing functioned very well, and it was pretty fast, about 3 minutes to get this entire coaster done. But there's another reason I wanted to test this out. There's a repeat function with the xTool Ultra where you just have to double tap the engrave button and it will engrave. And I'm going to demonstrate that here real quick.
Repeat this. Put your next one in. Come over here and double tap. And it starts over. Repeatable every time.
The next few items, I use the settings that come from xTool off of the F1 Ultra. And I just wanted to see what they look like. And it makes it a little bit faster when all you have to do is click and do the one-click thing to get the settings. So these are the results of those tests. As you can see, some were good, some were not that good. Like the wood tags right here, I need to tighten that up and change those settings a little bit. Here is the business card, the anodized business card, and it came out beautifully. So some were hit and some were miss. I think I work on this image a little bit, but it all came out pretty good. And the settings are pretty dead on inside the F1 Ultra. Now, I'd like to try a couple of other things like accuracy. And I'm going to use some of these toothpicks here to see how accurate it is. I set some of these toothpicks on the outer limits of the engrave area, and it nailed them all. So I think the accuracy is pretty good. The next function I want to test is the curved surfaces engrave. The F1 Ultra has the ability to engrave on curved surfaces accurately, so I'm going to do it on one of my bowls. About halfway through lasering this logo on, I realized it wasn't a good representation of doing a curved surface. So I decided to take a tumbler, 20-ounce slim tumbler, and just lay it on there and do the logo onto it and see how it comes out. I end up cleaning it up with a little bit of denatured alcohol, and wow, it came out really nice. I really liked how it looked. What I'm doing now is called Smart Fill, and what it does is it will batch out multiple items at the same time. You'll be able to take whatever it is that you want to engrave on one item and put it on several items on the screen. And it's kind of a helpful tool that xTool's added to the creative space. The final thing I want to test is something I use the most often, and that's my rotary. I want to test it out on a 20-ounce slim tumbler and see how well it does using the settings that are straight out of the F1 Ultra. As you can see, it came out looking stellar.
All right, we're done, and it's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly. I'm going to give you 5 of the cons, and then I'll go ahead and give you 5 pros, because I always like leaving you on a good note. My first con would be the price. At $36.50 on sale, that's a hefty price tag. But you do get a 20-watt blue laser and a 20-watt
fiber laser.
This is not made for the DIYer, weekend warrior. This is going to be made for somebody who's serious about starting a laser business. My next con is it's very messy. This thing kicks up so much dust when you're doing wood and slate coaster embossing that it actually cakes onto the fan, it cakes onto the table, it cakes on everything. Now I understand I don't have an air purifier hooked up to this, but I am fairly certain that when you're doing the embossing, and this is nothing they can control, all that dust is going to clog up that filter extremely fast. Number 3, I have all the accessories for the F1, but unfortunately the purifier and the conveyor belt do not fit with the F1 Ultra. Now I could probably find or 3D print a reducer coupler to be able to use the air purifier, but at a price tag of $500 on sale, $1,000 not on sale, I really can't afford to get the new purifier. Number 4 is something that I know xTool probably cannot work around, but it's the time it takes to emboss a coin or a coaster. You saw it. It was anywhere between 2.5 hours to 5.5 hours to be able to emboss these things. Now, I could probably cut that down a little bit by speeding it up, and it may even look a little bit better, but it does take a long time to do those things. So make sure you count that in when you're doing it for a customer, because your time is important and it's valuable. And finally, the last thing I'm going to talk about is the same thing I talked about the F1. They rolled this F1 Ultra out without a carrying case. Man, it would be fantastic if they would have included that into the accessories. So when you bought the F1 Ultra and you're wanting to take it to a craft fair or a show, that you had something to carry it in instead of just throwing it in the back of your vehicle. Now that we've talked about the cons, let's talk about the pros. I have 5 of them. The first pro I have is the remote screen. This thing makes it a lot easier for you to hit go on your engravings or your cuttings. So instead of reaching around the machine and hitting the button, you don't have to worry about that. You can have the button over by your computer. Mine is on the opposite side of the computer, opposite side of the laser, and I find it to be a lot easier. That remote screen also, you can double tap it and do your engraving over again. So if you want to do multiple items, it's a lot quicker. With that said, they also have 2 other remotes that you can buy as accessories. One's a foot pedal and another one's just a plain button. Number 2 pro, this thing is fast and it is powerful. The F1 has a 2-watt IR laser. This one has a 20-watt
Fiber laser,
which allows embossing and actually deep engraving on metal and also wood. As you saw in my video, I did a few of them, and it can have a 3D effect with that embossing. So that's a great addition to my laser capabilities. Number 3, this thing is accurate. As you saw in my video, I put out some toothpicks and I put them on the edge of the screen, also in the lasing area, and it hit every one of them dead center where I put the little KMM or MPC, whatever it was that I put on there. So that is important to have an accurate laser, and xTool has always done a great job at having lasers that are fairly accurate or can be adjusted if something goes wrong. Number 4, the work area. In my F1 video, I complained that the work area was just too small. Well, they fixed that by going almost to 9 inches, 8.66 inches. And the 5th pro that I have is the portability. This thing's still light enough and accessible enough and portable enough that you can bring it to craft fairs, to your buddy's house. And I'm going to do one more pro. And that's because I was very surprised at the amount of stuff that this IR laser could engrave on and emboss, and this machine has just surprised me at every turn. I took this piece of clear acrylic and I engraved on it, and I really didn't think it was going to work. I mean, it doesn't look fantastic, but that's because I used the settings for another color of acrylic. I think that with a little bit of fumbling, I think I could get it to engrave even better. So, I mean, it engraves on clear. I didn't think it could do that. I thought the only thing that could do that would be the CO2 laser. So that's That's a kind of a 1-2 punch, knockout punch there for me. I think that I'm going to mess with this and see what else it can do. So my final thoughts on the xTool F1 Ultra, I think they've hit a home run with this one. This thing is portable, it's powerful, it is sleek looking, and they have made some modifications that really put it over the top. I think xTool also does a really good job with their resources. They have a Facebook page, they have a web page, and you can go there and find pretty much anything that you have questions about. And if not, you get on YouTube and you type in your question, and there's a lot of creators that are using these machines, and they can answer those questions or show you how to do something really, really well. That's it with the F1 Ultra. I appreciate you watching. If you have any questions or comments, head down to the comments section, leave it there. I'll see if I can answer it. If not, maybe one of my other subscribers or watchers can answer it. I have a couple more videos coming out. One will be the F1 and the F1 Ultra compared, so you can see the differences. And the other one, is it possible to use the F1 Ultra to pay for itself? We'll see if it works. I'm going to give it a try, and I'll give you the results. So until next video, stay cool.